Cop harasses 70-year-old black woman walking her dog at the grocery store. Then her necklace stops him cold. It was a bright, clear morning in a quiet neighborhood. Birds chirped gently in the trees lining the street. The sun was just warming the pavement outside the local grocery store. This wasn't the kind of day anyone expected trouble, especially not 70-year-old Clara Johnson. Clara was a small-framed black woman with silvery hair pulled back into a neat bun. She had lived in this community for over 4 decades. She knew everyone by name, smiled at the familiar faces, and carried herself with a quiet dignity that few could match. Today she was doing what she did every Tuesday morning, taking her loyal golden retriever Max on their daily walk to the corner store to pick up a few groceries. Max trotted happily beside her, his tail wagging in the sunshine. Clara loved that dog-like family. He was her companion through long days and lonely nights. To anyone who saw them, Clara and Max were the picture of peace, a gentle reminder of life's simpler pleasures. As they approached the store's automatic doors, Clara noticed a uniformed police officer standing near the entrance. Officer Thompson was known around town, not for kindness, but for a brusque attitude that often felt cold, especially toward black residents. Clara had crossed paths with him before but had always hoped to avoid conflict. Today, however, that hope was about to be shattered. Officer Thompson's eyes locked on Clara the moment she stepped onto the sidewalk. He straightened up, his stance rigid, and without any greeting or reason he called out, "Ma'am, you can't bring that dog in here." Clara blinked, surprised. "I wasn't planning to bring Max inside, officer. I'm just here to pick up a few things." He ignored her explanation and stepped closer, his tone sharpening. "Leashes and pets aren't allowed anywhere near the store entrance. You need to leash that dog or leave." Clara's hand tightened on Max's collar. Max was already leashed, a fact she silently communicated with a calm look, but Thompson didn't seem to notice. His gaze hardened. "I'm sorry, officer, Max's leash is secure. We're just going inside briefly." Before she could say more, Thompson's voice dropped low, almost threatening. "Maybe you don't understand the rules here. Maybe I should ask you to leave entirely." Other shoppers nearby turned their heads, sensing the tension. Clara's heart began to beat faster. She had never been spoken to like this in her entire life. She was a respected elder in the community, not a troublemaker. "Is there a problem, officer?" Clara asked politely but firmly. Thompson stepped in even closer, towering over her. "I'm just doing my job, ma'am. You don't belong here with that dog. Now move along." At that moment, Clara's hand instinctively reached for the small pendant around her neck, a delicate gold necklace she wore every day. It had been a gift from her late husband and was her most cherished possession. But this necklace was more than a sentimental keepsake. It was a symbol of who Clara truly was, and it held a secret that could change everything. Clara looked Thompson in the eye, her voice steady but laced with quiet strength. "Officer, before you make any assumptions about me, I think you should know exactly who you're dealing with." Thompson raised an eyebrow skeptically. "And who might that be?" With a slow, deliberate motion, Clara unclasped the necklace and held it out in her hand. It wasn't just any pendant. The gold medallion gleamed in the sunlight, embossed with a badge number and the insignia of a federal agency. Clara was a retired FBI special agent, a fact few in the neighborhood knew. The murmurs of nearby shoppers grew louder as they caught sight of the necklace. Clara's calm exterior never faltered as she explained, "I served this country for over 30 years. I fought injustice in courtrooms and in the field. I've faced people far more dangerous than you can imagine." Thompson's face flushed with a mix of surprise and something like shame. He stepped back, his earlier aggression fading. I didn't know." Clara smiled gently but with an unmistakable edge. "That's the problem, officer. Too many people don't know who they're quick to judge." Max wagged his tail again, oblivious to the tension as Clara clipped the necklace back around her neck. The store's automatic doors opened and Clara began walking inside, with Thompson lingering behind her, his demeanor now uneasy. But the story was far from over. Because what started as a moment of harassment by a cop had opened a door to something much deeper. One that would reveal uncomfortable truths about power, respect, and the long shadows of racial injustice in the community. And Clara wasn't done yet. Inside the store, Clara moved through the aisles with a quiet determination. She noticed the lingering glances from other customers, some filled with curiosity, others with a newfound respect. The necklace wasn't just a symbol of her past. It was a reminder that appearances could be deceiving, and that dignity demanded acknowledgement. As Clara selected her groceries, a young woman approached her nervously. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said softly. "I heard what happened outside. I just wanted to say, thank you for everything you've done." Clara's eyes softened. "Thank you, dear. But my work is far from over." The young woman nodded. "It's not just about you. It's about all of us." Clara looked down at Max, then back up with resolve. "Exactly. That's why I'm here. To remind this community and everyone in it that respect and justice aren't just words. They're actions." Outside, Officer Thompson stood by his cruiser, staring after Clara. His confidence had been shaken, but he was wrestling with what had just happened. This encounter was not something he expected. He realized that the necklace had revealed a truth he hadn't been ready to face, and it made him question his own behavior. But would that question turn into change? Or would the past continue to cast its long shadow? The answer was still unwritten. As Clara finished paying and stepped back outside, she felt the warmth of the sun on her face, and the weight of history on her shoulders. She wasn't just an elderly woman with a dog. She was a force shaped by years of service, sacrifice, and survival. And this was only the beginning. Because sometimes the simplest moments, like a walk to the grocery store, can become the battleground for truth and justice. And Clara Johnson was ready to fight. The radio call echoed through Officer Thompson's cruiser like a thunderclap. "All units, be advised. We have a possible person of interest matching a cold case file from 1997. Surveillance confirms the suspect was seen earlier today near Maplewood Grocery. Respond if in the area." Thompson's pulse quickened. Maplewood Grocery. That was where he'd just confronted Clara Johnson. He turned sharply to look at her as she crossed the parking lot with her golden retriever, Max, her small grocery bag swinging gently at her side. He hesitated. Could it be a coincidence? But then the dispatcher added something else. Note: suspect may be tied to a former federal investigation that ended in multiple convictions. Agents believed an internal leak had compromised the operation. One agent's testimony was pivotal to the case. Thompson's eyes narrowed. He pulled up Clara's license plate on the squad car's mobile database. Name: Clara D. Johnson. Dobie, March 6, 1955. Status: retired. Federal Bureau of Investigation. His breath caught. The necklace wasn't a stunt. She really had been an FBI agent. And now she might be the missing piece to something much bigger than anyone imagined. Meanwhile, Clara had already returned home. She moved through her modest house in quiet routine. Feeding Max, watering her plants, placing groceries neatly in her fridge. But behind the calm, her mind was stirring. She'd recognized the officer's voice as soon as the call came through his cruiser's speaker. She hadn't let on, but she knew. The case in question had never left her heart. It was the one that cost her more than her career. It had cost her the life of her partner. It had exposed corruption within law enforcement. And she had testified despite threats, despite being silenced by those in power. Now, nearly 30 years later, the past had circled back. And someone knew she was still alive. That evening, Clara received a call from a blocked number. She let it go to voicemail. Then another came in. This time the caller ID read, DOJ Field Office, Washington, D.C. She answered. A familiar voice crackled on the line. Clara, it's Agent Mendez. I know it's been years, but we need to talk. Now. Her grip on the phone tightened. I heard the call go out, she said. It's about the leak, isn't it? Mendez paused. It's about the man we never caught. The one who vanished before the trial. He's back. And you were spotted in the same location. We think he recognized you. Clara closed her eyes. I never thought I'd have to face him again. You might not have a choice. The next day, Clara walked Max down the same path to Maplewood Grocery. It was risky, but she needed to retrace the steps. She felt eyes on her. Shadows moving where there shouldn't be any. When she reached the sidewalk, Officer Thompson was waiting. He approached her, not with the hostility of the day before, but with confusion, even a hint of shame. Ma'am, he began awkwardly, I owe you an apology. I didn't know who you were. Clara stopped him with a look. That's the point, officer. You shouldn't have to know someone's title to treat them with respect. He nodded, unable to argue. That call yesterday. It was about someone connected to you, wasn't it? Clara paused, debating how much to say. I was part of a task force that brought down a trafficking ring in the 90s. But one of the key players disappeared. Someone inside the force helped him escape. I testified, but the mole was never found. Thompson's expression shifted. You think he's here? I don't think, she said calmly. I know. By nightfall, Clara's home had been secured by federal agents. A black SUV now sat quietly across the street, its windows tinted. But Clara didn't feel safe. That evening, Max began barking furiously at the back door. Clara rushed to quiet him, only to see a figure disappear over the fence. Whoever it was had left behind something. A symbol drawn in chalk on her back steps. A spiral. The same symbol carved into the table during the original sting operation 30 years ago. The message was clear. I know who you are. I'm watching. The next morning, Clara sat across from Agent Mendez in a downtown conference room. We have a name, Mendez said grimly. Darren Cole. He was one of the handlers back then. Vanished just before the raids. We think he had help. Possibly someone still in uniform. Clara's eyes narrowed. And he's back. We tracked a burner phone ping to a warehouse outside of town. We think he's regrouping, maybe even rebuilding. Clara glanced at the file. Then let's finish what we started. Mendez hesitated. Clara, you're not FBI anymore. Clara looked him dead in the eye. You think that necklace was just for show? I'm not wearing it to remember who I was. I wear it because I still am. The raid went down 2 days later. Clara didn't lead it, but she was there in the shadows, guiding the new generation of agents who looked at her like a legend. Inside the warehouse they found weapons, fake passports, cash, and one man chained in the back. He'd been a whistleblower, kidnapped and held for weeks. His statement confirmed everything Clara feared. Darren Cole had returned. He'd rebuilt his network. And he had a list. Clara's name was on it. But so was Officer Thompson's. Back at the station, Thompson sat pale-faced as he learned the truth. Clara approached him slowly, gently placing her hand on his shoulder. He was going to use you, officer, she said. Just like he used the others. Thompson's voice shook. I thought I was just harassing a woman with a dog. No, Clara said. You were testing your power. And now you've seen where that power can lead. He nodded, eyes filled with something different this time. Understanding. A week later, Clara was honored at a local ceremony. Not for what she'd done in the past, but for what she had stopped in the present. She stood at the podium in a modest suit, Max sitting proudly by her side. I didn't come here today to relive the past, she began. I came here because the future still needs watching. And because too many people think age, race, or silence means weakness. She lifted her necklace. This isn't just a badge. It's a promise. To never stop protecting those who can't protect themselves. To never stay silent in the face of injustice. And to remind everyone that even when the system fails, truth finds a way. The crowd rose in a standing ovation. But Clara only smiled. She hadn't done it for applause. She'd done it because it was right. If this story moved you, share it. Let's shine a light on how systemic injustice still shows up in everyday life. And how elders, especially Black women, continue to carry the weight of both history and hope. Blackheart share Clara's story to honor the resilience of Black women. Pawprints comment justice. If you believe dignity has no expiration date. Loudspeaker follow hope in shadows for more true stories of survival, resistance and healing. You never know who needs to hear this. Let them know we see you. Remember, we fight.